Chapter 287-2, Traveling North. In the first shop they entered, Lu Tai purchased two small spirits that Chen Ping'an had never even heard of before. One was called Pupple, and according to the near-obsequious introduction by the shopkeeper, Chen Ping'an learned that one could raise this spirit in their pupil. Not only could this spirit absorb some spiritual energy of heaven and earth every day, but more importantly, it could help its owner brighten their eyes when it saw breathtakingly beautiful individuals. Many Qi refiners who practiced immortal techniques relating to the eye were most fond of this kind of spirit. After spending a whopping 800 snowflake coins to purchase this spirit, Lu Tai announced that he was going to give it to Chen Ping'an as a present. However, Chen Ping'an naturally turned down this act of goodwill. Seeing this, Lu Tai could only shake his head in pity, asking, "Chen Ping'an, don't you want your vision to improve every day?" The implied question to Chen Ping'an was this: with Lu Tai in front of him, and with this Pupple in his eye, wouldn't looking at Lu Tai be equivalent to cultivating his vision? The old shopkeeper glanced at the extraordinarily handsome Lu Tai before turning his gaze to Chen Ping'an. There was an amused and meaningful smile on his face. A layer of goosebumps appeared on Chen Ping'an's body, and he pretended that he didn't understand anything at all. Compared to the Pupple that Lu Tai had purchased, Chen Ping'an was actually more interested in the miniature spirits that were running around in a lively manner beside it. They were as small as grains of rice, and this species of spirits was called ear, a homonym with ear. They lived in a person's ear, and they would use their owner's eardrum as a literal drum. When their owner went to sleep, they would quietly beat their owner's eardrum in a manner that couldn't be heard by their owner or anyone else. However, this act could magnify the yang energy of their owner, formlessly deterring the many sinister spirits and ghosts that wandered around during the night. This was a type of spirit that wealthy clans from outside the mountains definitely had to purchase if they were haunted by ghosts or accidentally possessed by evil spirits. Because of their lowly cultivation base, many Qi refiners at the lower 5 tiers would also bring such a spirit along with them if they needed to travel through mountain forests or lakes and marshes. Apart from the Pupple, Lu Tai also purchased a spider that was as large as a fingernail. Its body was 5-colored, making it appear especially likable. However, its name was enough to make Chen Ping'an stand back and keep a respectful distance. It was called Intimate Dream Spider, and it liked to harvest and collect the intimate dreams of people. When its owner fell asleep, this spider would spin a small web above their head, one that was colorful and dazzling. Afterward, their owner would enjoy a dream filled with wealth and intimacy. Because of this, many immortal forces used intimate dream spiders as a tool to temper their disciples' Dao hearts. At the same time, teachings and forces that advocated dual cultivation also viewed intimate dream spiders as a necessary item. In a row of small cages near the intimate dream spider, there were many other species of spiders, including the nightmare spider, which was pitch black like ink. Each type of spider had its own unique appearance and ability. Chen Ping'an naturally didn't like these kinds of creatures. However, Lu Tai happened to like these spiders very much. Indeed, he had spent 600 snowflake coins simply because he thought the appearance of the intimate dream spider was very adorable. And thus, the old shopkeeper's smile became even more amused and meaningful. Afterward, Lu Tai got into a bidding war with a cultivator at the middle 5 tiers in front of some stall. This was a rare sight, yet Chen Ping'an didn't blame Lu Tai for being reckless this time. Instead, he felt like that item was well worth the 12 lesser heat coins that Lu Tai had spent. In the end, Lu Tai had only managed to win the bidding war because his opponent hadn't had enough immortal money on him. Moreover, Lu Tai had been exuding an air of confidence, making it seem as if he would fight to the end no matter how many times his opponent raised the bid. The cultivator at the middle 5 tiers had eventually muttered curses and left. There was an incredibly rare mutton fat beast happily jumping around in Lu Tai's palm. The body of the small beast was jade-like, and this was because it was formed from the essence of beautiful jade. Its body was innately a high-grade natural treasure, making it an optimal choice to forge talismanic jade tablets with. However, mutton fat beasts were extremely fiery and unyielding, so once they grew up and matured, they would choose to commit suicide once they were caught. In other words, one couldn't capture and raise mature mutton fat beasts. Meanwhile, the mutton fat beast in Lu Tai's palm had been unintentionally caught by a cultivator, and it had only managed to survive and avoid death by suicide because it was still young. If it were properly raised, it could potentially become a living treasure that was worth an exorbitant amount of money. However, there was a catch in the sense that raising a mutton fat beast would cost even more than the initial price of buying one. This was because mutton fat beasts only ate snowflake coins. The stall owner was an ordinary-looking woman. After Lu Tai purchased the mutton fat beast, she smiled and said that such a valuable beast would have definitely been purchased at a high price right away if it weren't for the fact that Planchette Writing Sect already owned a pair of mutton fat beasts. Chen Ping'an and Lu Tai walked left and right along the bustling Sky Calling Street, entering and exiting numerous shops. During this time, Chen Ping'an had also taken a fancy to 3 items. However, he had been struck with indecision, and he had ultimately been reluctant to spend so much money. There was a 3-legged golden toad that was a spirit beast belonging to heaven and earth. It was said that its owner could increase their fortune in making money. There was a silver-white treasure-seeking mouse, whose sense of smell was extremely sensitive to spiritual matters in the world. There was also a small creature called the wine insect, and this was a creature that could only be born in high-quality aged wine. If this insect were placed in a newly fermented pot of wine, then the pot of wine would become as rich as one that was stored for several years after just a few hours. Thus, these kinds of wine insects were naturally adored by those who liked to drink wine. Chen Ping'an didn't spend any money, yet Lu Tai continued to spend money without pause. He purchased a dragon whisker carp that was the size of a palm. This creature had the body of a carp, yet it also had 2 long whiskers that were identical to those belonging to flood dragons. These whiskers were a type of rare natural treasure. However, they were naturally far inferior to the 2 golden flood dragon whiskers that Chen Ping'an had obtained and forged into a demon-binding chain. The advantage of dragon whisker carp was the fact that they could be bred and raised. In other words, an immortal force could potentially purchase several of these carp and carefully raise them and breed them. After hundreds upon thousands of years, the immortal force would have an entire pond of dragon whisker carp. Lu Tai also purchased a bull roar fish. Its body was only as long as a person's finger, yet it could unleash a roar that was as loud as thunder. Chen Ping'an couldn't fathom why Lu Tai had purchased this fish. Perhaps he was going to use it to frighten someone. In the end, Chen Ping'an also saw a collection of talisman paper humans in a shop at the end of the street. They came in varying styles and colors, and they also commanded a varying range of prices. These talisman paper humans were roughly divided into 3 categories according to height: those that were 1 finger tall, 1 palm tall, or 1 arm tall. They were extremely lifelike, and they were capable of cleaning courtyards, raising flowers and birds, helping to move books and basque books, and so on. Paper humans were also divided into different grades. Moreover, this notion of grades was a very popular one among wealthy clans in the world. Because of this, the cultivation base, renown, and force affiliation of the talisman's author had a huge influence on the final price. Of course, the quality of the talisman paper was also quite important. There were immortal forces and subordinate businesses that specialized in crafting talisman paper humans, and this was a business where profits were very high. Even though Chen Ping'an found these miniature paper humans extremely amusing and fun, he definitely wouldn't go as far as to purchase one. This was because they were very expensive. They weren't worth the price, and they also provided no value. They couldn't be further away from the ideal of cheap and useful. Meanwhile, Lu Tai purchased a large stack of talisman paper humans in a single go, all of them belonging to the shortest category. Having spent another 500 snowflake coins, Lu Tai said that he could get these paper humans to stage mock battles on the table when he became bored. That would definitely cure his boredom. When it came to spending money, there was definitely no possibility of mutual understanding and conversation between Chen Ping'an and Lu Tai. If one continued past Sky Calling Street for 1 to 2 kilometers, one would come across a pavilion named the Cease Walking Pavilion. This signified that those from outside Planchette writing sect should stop here and not proceed forward. Chen Ping'an and the fully loaded Lu Tai walked into the Cease walking pavilion together. While walking over, Chen Ping'an couldn't help but steal a few extra glances at Lu Tai. He was extremely curious about where Lu Tai had put those spirits and creatures. Lu Tai did indeed own pocket treasures, and it was indeed okay to put goods like the talisman paper humans inside. However, living spirits and creatures with yang energy most definitely couldn't be placed inside pocket treasures. Otherwise, they would explode apart and potentially even cause the pocket treasure to shatter. Chen Ping'an and Lu Tai rested in the pavilion for a short while, taking in the night scenery surrounding Planchette writing sect from a distance. Afterward, the two of them returned to Sky Calling Street and looked for a nearby inn to stay the night. However, this resulted in the two of them directly parting ways. This was because Lu Tai wanted to stay in an immortal residence brimming with spiritual energy. Meanwhile, Chen Ping'an naturally wanted to find any old inn to stay in, as long as the price was right. An uneventful night passed by. It was very difficult to cause trouble right under the nose of Planchette writing sect. Of course, this was given that one didn't provoke those haughty disciples from Planchette writing sect. Chen Ping'an and Lu Tai agreed to meet up at the Cease walking pavilion in the morning. They would then leave the mountain and continue to travel north. Chen Ping'an arrived at the pavilion very early in the morning, allowing him to enjoy the spectacular sight of the sun rising above the East Sea. However, there was still no sign of Lu Tai even when the sun had risen high. After waiting for so long, Chen Ping'an was just about to leave the pavilion to look for Lu Tai. However, it was only at this moment that the handsome young man finally strolled up the mountain while yawning in sleepiness. He waved at Chen Ping'an before stopping in his tracks, unwilling to walk any further. In any case, walking any further would be a complete waste of his energy. Chen Ping'an sighed and walked out of the pavilion, making his way down the mountain with Lu Tai. Last night, Chen Ping'an had still been worried that Lu Tai would draw trouble due to spending such huge sums of money in the Sky Calling Street. When traveling around the world, it was best that one didn't flaunt their wealth. However, nothing untoward happened even after they traveled more than 300 kilometers north. Only then was Chen Ping'an's mind put at ease. Following the occasional reminders from the sword on his back, Chen Ping'an corrected their direction several times, heading toward the general location of his destination. This was necessary because they needed to take detours around mountains and rivers. At the same time, Chen Ping'an also wanted to avoid bustling official roads. Lu Tai had no objections. However, he would stop for a while whenever they came across lively markets, inns, and shops in the towns. As repayment for Lu Tai's lack of complaints regarding his choice of direction, Chen Ping'an didn't refuse the handsome young man's requests. This was a very calm and unremarkable journey for Chen Ping'an. Nothing much happened, and he would simply practice fist techniques and sword techniques in the quiet and unpopulated mountains, forests, and rivers. He never saw Lu Tai cultivating much, and Lu Tai would only seem spirited when they arrived at lively markets bustling with people and activity. He would appear exuberant as if they had entered a blessed land. As time went on, Lu Tai eventually taught Chen Ping'an one thing. He taught the young boy the lifestyle and standards of a wealthy person. Lu Tai always managed to spend the least amount of money necessary to eat and drink the best food. Even if it were a simple dish, he could enjoy it as if there were thousands of years of history and culture behind it. He could somehow relate the dish to several renowned literati and sages. He could recite several lines of beautiful poetry for each pot of wine. When Lu Tai occasionally purchased an ancient book from some bookstore, he would sit there and hold the book in one hand while lazily flipping the pages with his other. In Chen Ping'an's eyes, however, he felt like this was the aura and disposition that scholars should possess. When they stayed at inns, Lu Tai would brew himself a pot of tea almost every single day. However, he would never invite Chen Ping'an over to enjoy the tea with him, and he would instead sit alone and quietly sip tea, not saying a single word. He would appear calm and relaxed, filled with an aura of rightness and morality. When Lu Tai played out games of Go from the manuals, Chen Ping'an felt like he had only witnessed this kind of elegant demeanor from Cui Dongshan before. Lu Tai also owned a bamboo flute that sounded especially pleasant to the ear when it was played in the mountains and rivers. Even when he sat lazily in some random place to gaze up at the moon with a folding fan in his hand, he still appeared as graceful as always. Chen Ping'an knew of a term called cultural artiness. This was a very derogatory term. However, Lu Tai wasn't guilty of this. Just like how Chen Ping'an was a country bumpkin at his core, Lu Tai was an innately graceful person. He was an innate scholar. Having money implied wealth, while understanding etiquette implied nobleness. This was the true meaning of being a wealthy noble. Chen Ping'an couldn't learn and emulate Fan Er's brilliant and positive mindset. He felt like he couldn't learn and emulate Lu Tai's graceful and carefree demeanor either. On this day, Chen Ping'an stood atop a tall tree and gazed into the distance. To his surprise, he saw a castle standing amid the majestic, yet sparsely populated mountains. Before this, Chen Ping'an and Lu Tai hadn't come across a single mountain or water spirit during their journey. This place was already hundreds of kilometers from Planchette Writing Sect, the most powerful sect in the central region of Parasol Leaf Continent. Chen Ping'an initially didn't want to tell Lu Tai that there was a castle in the distance. He wanted to focus on traveling to their destination. However, the handsome young man who had been uninterested in the mountains and waters this entire suddenly decided to jump onto a tall branch today. He rocked his folding bamboo fan and chuckled. Very good, very good. It's a brilliant location to kill people and steal goods before fabricating evidence and framing someone else. Chen Ping'an didn't understand Lu Tai's words right away. However, it wasn't long before he came to a realization. There were skulking figures in the surrounding forest, with their small movements giving rise to quiet rustles. Even though they were well hidden and extremely careful, Chen Ping'an's eyesight and hearing were even better. He immediately discovered that he and Lu Tai were surrounded. Chen Ping'an looked around and said slowly, "I'm at the 4th tier of martial arts, and I own 2 bonded flying swords and many immortal talismans." As if in tacit understanding, Lu Tai smiled faintly and said, "I'm a chi refiner at the 8th tier, the Dragon Gate tier. And what a coincidence, I also have 2 bonded flying swords and many immortal treasures." There was one person wearing a white robe with a sword strapped to his back. Hanging on his waist was a sword-nurturing gourd that hadn't been removed and used as a wine gourd for a long time. There was one person wearing an azure robe with a jade pendant hanging by his waist. Noble people wouldn't remove their jade pendant for no reason one. Chen Ping'an and Lu Tai were facing a large group of scheming bandits who had tailed them for hundreds of kilometers. Moreover, it was without a doubt that most of them were chi refiners from the mountains. Lu Tai gently rocked his fan and smiled with squinted eyes, asking, "Before throwing hands, should we try to speak some reason with them?" Chen Ping'an pursed his lips and patted the wine gourd by his waist, not saying anything else in reply. His reasons were all inside the wine gourd. 1. This is a line from the Book of Rites. In ancient China, the character of noble people was compared to the quality of jade. Thus, wearing a jade pendant is a constant reminder that one needs to remain virtuous and upright.